In the 1970s, Anne Marie Robinson was in a relationship with her music teacher. He said it was consensual. She said it was rape.
Decades later, she comes face to face with the teacher and decides it's time for justice.
We're previewing The Band Teacher.
That's on this episode of So Much Crime.
So Little Time. Welcome to So Much Crime, So Little Time. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Dee, and in this episode we'll introduce you to The Band Teacher, a CBC podcast.
If you haven't listened to The Band Teacher, that's great. This is one of our preview episodes.
Here, we're only going to discuss episode 1 and introduce you to the series. No spoilers for what's to come.
And you can find a link to The Band Teacher in our show notes.
In our next episode, we'll discuss the whole series, but right now, we just want to decide if this is a crime that's worth your time.
So, Dee, before we get to this crime, this is a pretty serious crime, and we're going to have a serious discussion about it. But let's do what we always do and do something a little lighter and hop in the time machine. So we don't have a specific date for this crime. We just know that it began really in 1977. So for this time machine, we're just going to go to the whole year of 1977.
Okay. I have 4 movies from the year. Okay.
Great.
And
you know I wasn't born yet. I was not alive in 1977.
who knows, Jeff? Who knows? I don't even know if you're telling the truth when you say that. What I've asked, throwing everything on the table here, I've asked ChatGPT, how did I not think about this before? I gave it the 4 movies. I gave it the year and I said, I need 3 hints to quiz someone on this. Each hint should get easier and you shouldn't, use any keywords from the movie in it. So I'm
Great.
just going to throw that out there as a description of what I did. Because, I'm not going to claim anyone else's work. The first one you're definitely going to get, I'd say, because, yeah, okay. This one took a while to tweak with GPT. It was really annoying about how it was phrasing it. Hint 1. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The sound of the film's most iconic elements was created by combining the hum of a malfunctioning film projector and the buzz from a broken TV set.
Star Wars. A New Hope, Episode 4. Is that sound describing the lightsaber?
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that, but that's...
Isn't that great? Now, here, look, as I said, GPT told me this. ChatGPT told me this. So, who knows if it's freaking accurate? I did not fact check. Doesn't feel like that's relevant to our lives.
It's the diligent research that goes into this podcast.
Indeed. Oh, yeah, I thought that was funny. Second movie. I've never heard of this movie. But anyway. Okay, another sound one to begin. The distinctive sound pattern used to communicate with beings from beyond our world was produced by blending electronic sounds with a cello's notes.
Is it Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Fuck's sake. Yeah.
You've never heard of Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I don't think so.
Steven
Didn't ring any
Spielberg.
bells.
It's
that was in hint 3. Hint
Okay, it's
2.
it's the alien movie he did before E.T. It's the one with Richard Dreyfuss. And, it's a great... I haven't seen that. It's the one where they go to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, which then when I went to Devil's Tower in Wyoming, which
on
is
a run when you were running a marathon?
No. I drove out there with a friend from high school. And
Okay.
It's just over the border. If you're going to Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, which is worth seeing, and you just go a little bit over the border and there's Devil's Tower. Sorry, it's on the license plate in Wyoming.
Cool. Great. Excellent. At least you weren't running. I think that's, it's change. Next movie. I nearly read the name of the movie in this one. The inspiration for the film came from an article detailing the life of a particular group of young men who spent their weekends dancing at a Brooklyn nightclub.
Dancing at a Brooklyn nightclub. Young men dancing at a Brooklyn... Oh, is it Saturday Night Fever?
For fuck's sake.
Am I really good at this game?
I need yeah, it's really annoying. Or maybe
should have put
ChatGPT
ChatGPT.
didn't make it hard enough.
Yeah, you should have made it harder.
I'll make it harder next time.
I wasn't even born then. I've never even seen that movie.
Doesn't even go here. Okay.
I have never seen that movie.
Last one. You won't get this one. I loved when I read the first hint. I was like, this is so funny. Because remember a few episodes ago, I gave you like the top grossing, like I asked you to guess. Yeah, okay. This is where hint one is going. Despite a modest budget, the film went on to become a massive financial success, grossing over 70 times its production cost.
That's not helpful at all.
I know. I knew you'd say that. Okay.
It's not Star
Maybe
Wars.
I'll make ChatGPT talk about finance in the first hint all the time. Okay. The film's central character is a fast-driving man who takes on a seemingly impossible challenge, evading pursuit at every turn.
A fast-driving man who evades pursuit at every turn. Have you heard of this movie?
I mean, yeah, like I wasn't like, I've never heard of it, but I was like, I
You've
wouldn't,
never seen
I don't, no.
Fast-driving man. I don't know. Give me the next one. Are there three?
Okay,
How many hints
hint
do I get?
3.
Okay.
I have no idea if they're easy or not. This is, my QA of these these answers from GPT was fairly light. The film, which became a cultural phenomenon, stars a well-known actor famed for his charm and humor behind the wheel of a muscle car.
Is it Smokey and the Bandit?
Woo! 4 for 4 on the movies, Jeff. Good hustle.
That one was hard. I've also never seen that movie, but I've heard of it. Yeah. Is that Burt Reynolds? Who's in that?
Burt Reynolds, Jerry Reed, Sally Field. I love Sally Field. Okay, your turn.
All right, D. So this crime took place in Toronto, which is a big city. We often do these TripAdvisors for small cities.
Have you been to Toronto?
No, never. Have you?
No. Have you been to? You've been to Canada.
I've been to Montreal and Vancouver. That's it. So Toronto. So I looked up the top restaurant in Toronto and has 565 reviews and a 4.9 rating. It is called Casa Madera. It is a modern...
Sorry a second. It has 565,000 reviews.
No, 565 reviews.
This is what annoys me about TripAdvisor.
What?
There needs to be like, okay, if you've got 565 reviews and say it's like 5-star reviews, then you're going to be somewhere. But if somewhere has like 7,000 reviews and it's like 4.5, they need to be closer to the top, surely. Like there needs to be more thought put into
a weighting system.
Thank you. That was the phrase I was looking for. A weighted system. This feels too like...
Let's keep going. So Casa Madera has a 4.9 rating, and I read through all of the 1 and 2-star reviews, of which there are very few, and I found this one that I thought was interesting and a little bit tragic.
Casa Madera is like is it tapas? Is it Mexican? What are we?
It's Mexican, but it's like fancy, expensive Mexican.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is an highly upscale restaurant in Toronto. All right, so this review is from a woman
probably
named...
shite, is it?
Well, let's hear. From Daniela, and I always... It's going to go like that, is it? This is from a person named Daniela A., and this is her only contribution to TripAdvisor, which I always think is interesting. Someone made an account on TripAdvisor in order to leave this review. It's a 2-star review.
Daniela A.
A.
That's mad that she had like... that she was able to get the username Daniela A, that nobody else was called Daniela A.
It's TripAdvisor. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
What year did she leave the review?
October of 2024. It's pretty recent.
Okay. I'll show
And the title is, We Didn't Make It to Our Mains. You ready?
Woof.
We were there for our 1-year anniversary. And we left
That's why they didn't make it to their mains. Sorry.
And we left before even ordering the mains, as we couldn't stand being there a minute longer. When our server came to introduce herself, her voice was weak and uninterested in whether we could hear her or not. So I didn't get her name, but she did manage to say happy anniversary. The food
Did she have a name tag? Did she have a name tag, Daniela? Sounds like a you problem. Maybe you need some sort of hearing implement. Sorry.
The food was average. We got the guacamole, pulpo, hamachi, and the ceviche. and everything needed more salt.
Was it on the table, Daniela A? Maybe not everyone needs salt in their life. Maybe people have been told by their doctors not to eat salt. It feels like a you problem, Daniela A.
We think
Is this what you wanted when you read the TripAdvisor review? Because this is where today is happening. Okay.
We're only about a third of the way through it. We think small portions and high prices demand excellent customer service. We didn't order mains or drinks as nobody was checking in on us or attempted to entice us to order more. We ordered the hamachi, which was previously stated, and when the runner delivered it to our table, she sprayed something without saying what it was or what it was for and left. She sprayed something?
I think Daniela A had a problem. Maybe like a BO problem or something.
The whole experience was strange and uncomfortable. All the employees' faces and behaviors were so dismissive that we decided to take our important dinner somewhere else. Here's where the turn comes. As people in the industry, we know that there are bad nights, which is fair, but we also know that we have the opportunity to make or break somebody's night. And this restaurant really broke our night. We plan to specifically go to this restaurant on our 1-year anniversary and make a memorable night, and it's a shame that we had to scramble to make our night elsewhere. There are people in the industry.
You know, the way often we're like, I'd love to go for a drink with that person.
Not
when
this
we're
one.
talking about our podcast, no.
Yeah.
Daniela is going to be an annoying person to go out with.
Yeah.
On and on.
All right.
Or
That
go
was
for
our
a
time
pint trip.
machine for today. And what a time machine it was.
What a time machine. You're welcome.
Before we tell you why you should join Patreon, we just want to give a special welcome to Debbie, our newest Patreon member. Debbie, thank you for joining. And if you want to be like Debbie, join. I don't need that actually.
Be like Debbie. Be like Debbie.
If you're sitting at a restaurant on a special evening, waiting for service, not getting your mains, what are you going to do? Go to patreon.com/so-much-crime, so little time. Instead of ordering mains, you're not going to make it to dessert. You might as well spend that time listening to some outtakes of this show. Listen to some bonus content, longer time machines, early release episodes, and if you're not going to feel good about your restaurant or your meal or your special occasion, at least you can feel good about supporting this show. Patreon.com/so-much-crime, so little time. All right, Dee, let's talk about what this podcast is. So The Band Teacher came out in the summer of 2023. The host is Julie Ireton. She is a senior investigative reporter with CBC. There are 10 episodes. They're about 30 to 40 minutes each. What happened in that first episode?
Alrighty. So Anne-Marie Robinson was a standout student, but also a French horn player in her school orchestra. And her music teacher was Doug Walker, was showering her with compliments and attention, even bought her own French horn. Then at a time on a band trip in 1977, after giving a lot of the students alcohol, Walker initiated a sexual relationship with Anne-Marie. She was 16. Decades later, when her own daughter took an interest in music, Anne-Marie picked up the French horn again. She hadn't touched it since leaving high school. But when she joined a community band, she runs into her old teacher. Now she's exploring what happened, how many other kids may have been impacted by this predator, and if justice is actually possible. Right, Jeff, where do you want to start with this one?
There was a lot in this first episode that happened.
There was a lot. Okay. It feels like you're like, I don't know where to start. There was too much happening. Is that what's happening?
I don't know where to start. There was too much happening.
Okay. Okay. I would sort of like to start with the format of this. Like we've said it in our summary of the episode that Anne-Marie comes face to face with Walker. And that happens towards the end. But there's the format of this first episode is like circular. It's like this, we're starting at a time when her daughter wants her to get involved. She goes out, she goes to play the French horn again. It's been so long, and she sees someone and it's like she's seen a ghost basically. then we go to the start of the story. So we don't know who she's seen. We hear about Anne-Marie's story from the start. And by the end, we're coming back to that moment where she spots someone that she hasn't seen in 50 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Ish. Something like that.
I really liked that kind of the format for this episode. Did you?
I agree. I think it was very powerful. I felt a lot of emotions listening to this. I listened to it a couple times, and there was honestly a moment about halfway through the first time I listened to it where I almost texted you. I was like, I don't want to do this one because I think this is going to be really hard to listen to. And it just, and we're going to talk about how this compares to The Teacher's Pet and just another story of a teacher taking advantage of one of their students. But the way that this one, this is a different story. And this idea of this woman who has built up her life and has become very successful and had a hard go of it. She struggled for a while. We hear about a fair amount of that.
She was like, an A student, and she left high school early because she couldn't cope with this, and then ended up actually going back and getting 2-3 degrees, a master's, becoming president of some government thing. She did real well.
Yeah, and then she has this 15-year-old daughter who takes an interest in music, and just the idea that, so she was 15 or 16 when she was the star French horn player in the band, and she has come so far from this world, and then she rediscovers this love of music. She had a love of music. She loved being a musician when she was a kid and a teenager, and this man ruined that for her, it sounds like. We don't know exactly, but it seems that way. And she discovers this thing that she had left behind. Like, she had put this in a box. And then the moment she joins this group, they have 2 new members that they want to introduce. And one of them is this guy.
I know.
In all of Canada. And I know Canada has a relatively small population compared to the US, but it's still a lot of people live there. There's a lot of bands. There's a lot of places she could have gone. And
yeah, it's not even that he was in the band. It's the fact that they were both starting. They were both the new members on that day. I think that was the thing that was like wild.
And she said, there's this quote I wrote down where she said, when she saw him there, she said, "I thought he was dead. He couldn't exist if I existed." And she had basically, that was the world, that was her reality that she had lived in for decades. This was tough to hear.
It was a lot, but it was a lot. What I found really compelling, there were so many things about Anne-Marie that I just was like, give me some of that strength. You're so strong. But what I found really compelling was that when her daughter started, I can't imagine how emotional and traumatic it must have been for Anne-Marie when her daughter decided or found this interest in music and decided she wanted to join a band, and that she wanted Anne-Marie to take out the French horn again so they could play together. So I can't imagine going through what she's been through from what we've heard in episode 1 at all, but to have that kind of buried and like compartmentalized in your life, and then for someone who you obviously, a teenager who wants to play music with you, of course you're going to say yeah, but for her to say yes, for her to do it because obviously of her love for her daughter and also her love for the music, it's just really powerful, like, that she did that. And she's so strong, and she does this, and then that slap in the face comes that he's there.
Yes. If I can build on that. She had a kid when she was, I think, 18. So she has other kids. I don't think we know how many, but so this 15-year-old
we know
much
later. Of 2. Yeah.
But just the fact alone of having a daughter, and that daughter reaching this age where this happened to you in your life, like, that's traumatic, and like that's going to surface some things on its own. But I think it's compounded, like you said, like, it's one thing to have your daughter take an interest in something that you were interested in a kid, but when it's a musical instrument and you go and you start, like, a musical instrument has a particular, I think, resonance is not the right word. That's like punny. I didn't mean to be punny. It has a particular like emotional connection. I was never a star musician, but I was an amateur musician when I was a kid, and I have the guitar that I played when I was a teenager. And when I pick up that guitar, there's a part of me that goes back to being that 14, 15, 16-year-old playing that same guitar. Like there's a strong bond with that instrument. And that's like an undercurrent here of she had this bond with this instrument and she was a star at it. She was really good at it. She was getting invited to go play with this fancy Canadian group for it. And it's not just that this teacher showered affection on her. It was that sounded like she was legitimately a great musician who loved the instrument that she then put away for 40 or 50 years. It's a lot.
I know. I also think that like this, and I'll probably keep coming back to her strength because yes, she was a talented musician, and in a way the odds were stacked against her. Her father was basically not in the picture. Her mother was like trying to support them and was supporting them. But she obviously felt pushed aside and isolated and maybe ostracized by, like, he kind of created that like isolation for her.
Yes.
And then at one stage she had to run before she could finish out high school. She didn't, there was a few years where she was lost. She got married to a much older man. Yeah. She had a child, and she said like a beautiful son or whatever. But then she went back to school. She didn't let this forever impact the trajectory of her life. It obviously would have run through. It was obviously always there. I can imagine that it was always there, but she didn't let it impact the trajectory of her life and her success. And it just feels like such a slap in the face. But then I wonder, like, now that I'm saying it, do you reckon them meeting each other, like, she has become very successful?
Yeah.
Do you reckon them meeting each other wasn't actually a slap in the face for her, but maybe it was actually a slap in the face for him? Like, maybe it's a case that she's so strong. Like, we hear at the end here, like, she wants to meet him for coffee.
She does. Yeah.
She's not weak. She's ready to face that and ready to say that was not okay. And maybe actually this is, and obviously the whole plot of this is like kind of going after him, I presume, unless there's other teachers that come into it. Maybe it's actually like what we really should focus on in our discussion, and maybe what the first episode was really trying to give us was her strength.
I think
she's
that's right.
the one that's coming out on top here, not him.
Yeah. And that's ultimately, and I want to talk about this in the context of Teacher's Pet, but that's what struck me that was so powerful about this story, was that it's not about this woman whose life was sort of destroyed by this man. It's about this woman who was taken advantage of by this man, but then she rebuilt her life into something, and she became a strong, powerful, successful woman. And when she is faced with this all these years later, she doesn't crumble. There's a quote that I also wrote down where she says, "I am strong now." It's like, yeah, she's willing to go have coffee with him because she discovers that he went on to do this again. And she wants...
She didn't know that when she went to have coffee with him, though.
No. But she goes and she finds that out. And she, like, but that's my point, is she doesn't back away from this. She confronts it head on. And she says, like, she's taking the power in this situation, the power that he held over her when she was 16. And now she is exerting that power over him. She goes to the podcast. So she's the one who initiated this podcast. She heard the first season of this show, which was about a similar story about boys being abused by a music teacher in their school.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this up with you because I think this adds like another layer to the podcast, where we are going to get tidbits of like a comparison of how this journey, probably from an investigative, from a hosting and interviewing point of view, how it can be compared to this other story. And already in episode 1 we hear that the host was pretty shocked about how differently the female teenage victims were treated or viewed as opposed to the male victims, teenage victims. from that other season. And so I don't know, I find that kind of fascinating. That's not something we had before with Teacher's Pet. Obviously we're going to be comparing it. There's going to be similarities, where there's going to be some discussion that we've probably touched on with that story or that podcast, but I definitely think that similar story, like everything seems so similar bar the gender of the victims. And yeah,
but this is one of the things to talk about in relation to the Teacher's Pet. There we talked a lot about how when this got found out that we had a teacher who was having a relationship with a student, an underage student, rather than go to jail, rather than be punished, and some of this was because it wasn't against the law in some of these situations. And here it also wasn't against the law. She was the age of consent in Canada at the time.
Yeah. I was actually going to bring that up, being like, because 16 was the legal age, and Anne-Marie and Walker neither of them deny the sex happened, and neither say they said no. There was a mention of rape with regards to, I think, that first incident, because he had provided the alcohol to her.
Yeah.
But there was no law at the time on the student-teacher relationship. And I know there's a power dynamic. I know there's is power dynamic is the right phrase?
Power imbalance.
There was a power imbalance here. But like, what does that do for the legal ramification? Because it felt to me like the podcast is teeing up that this is going to have some sort of like, this is going to be an investigation, going to lead to something. But how does we know it's wrong? But
we know it. Yeah.
How can it be legally wrong if there was no law at the time, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and it's also so long ago. And I think what's interesting is I was listening to this today the second time, and then I was sitting at lunch and I was reading the San Jose newspaper, and on the front page of the San Jose newspaper today was a story about an East Bay school district where a group of students had sued the school district to basically, I'm going to butcher the story, but the gist of it is there was abuse that happened, same story of teachers having relationships with students decades ago. And this is about like 20-ish years ago, but it's currently past the sort of statute of limitations of when these students can sue the school district. And there is a bill in the California Assembly now to basically say, no, the school is still liable for not protecting these students from the teachers, regardless of how long ago it happened. Or maybe there's a longer time ago that it can happen where the school is still liable and the school still is accountable financially to these students, which, again, doesn't right all the wrongs, but it gets that teacher's pet thing of like, this is happening, this has been happening, this continues to happen. And so many of these students don't do what Anne-Marie did here, of wherever it happens in her life. And yeah, maybe she doesn't have a legal recourse here, but she went to this podcast host who's an investigative reporter who did another story like this. And at the very least, she's bringing attention to the story.
Yeah.
She's naming what happened to her, which, if nothing else, I feel like this is going to hopefully help other people feel comfortable coming out with their stories, standing up for what is right. Like, I feel like this is sort of an advocacy podcast. Like, I was thinking about, like, what is this podcast? Like, what is the goal here?
That's really interesting, because I think the kind of final thing I wanted to say about it is like it felt very important to the host to note the trust element that she was developing with Anne-Marie. So
yeah.
I've been with Anne-Marie for a while. This is the first discussion where the microphone is coming out. And then it's like we're getting to like kind of like teetering on the edge of the story at the end of episode 1. And she says, Anne-Marie needs a break. It's been a lot. And obviously, the way it's cut, it makes it sound like a very kind of like you're left on the edge there. I do believe that Julie was really trying to say, like, she's been done wrong. Anne-Marie deserves, everyone deserves, but Anne-Marie particularly deserves the comfort to be like, the ball is in her court. She says we're done for today. And I don't know, I felt like that trust element and that comfort element and that victim forward element was just so necessary here. And I really liked it.
Yeah. So you're pretty eager to keep listening.
Mm-hmm. I mean, fucking hell. People in power need to calm down.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
And this spans over decades, centuries, millennia. Like, when is it going to be a case that people are like, oh yes, I'm powerful, but also maybe I can be sound and not fucking take advantage of people?
I don't think that's how you keep your power.
But like, where's your power coming from then? Because it feels fickle. Like, it feels like you don't really have power if by not taking advantage of people, you are powerful. Like, if that's where your power comes from, you're not fucking powerful. You know?
I don't think we're going to solve that in this preview episode.
Really?
But maybe next time.
I thought
maybe
by me
recap.
saying it? Maybe by me saying it? Is that not how it works? No?
Let's make that our goal in our recap, is to solve this power imbalance that has existed for millennia.
Yeah. And maybe just tell people to stop being assholes. Fucking hell. Anyway, that's my synopsis. How I'm feeling right now. If you have strong emotions about this podcast, about the band Teacher, about So Much Crime, So Little Time, share them with us. Share your strong feelings with us. We want to hear them. We would love if you could leave us a comment on Instagram, on Spotify, on this episode, on Apple, and wherever you get your podcast. And also, while you're there, give us a rating. Like, look, we know we're 5 stars. Give us the 5. Give us 5. High 5. And also, don't forget to tell a friend, a frenemy, an enemy, family member. If they're not your friends, that's okay. You can still share the wealth and share the knowledge. And as always, we thank you so much for your support, your comments, your following. We love this. We're having so much fun, and we hope you are too.
Next time, will Anne-Marie get justice?
And will we get to the bottom of how widespread this abuse was?
We're recapping all of the band Teacher.
That's on the next So Much Crime,
So Little Time.
So Much Crime, So Little Time is a production of MimeGov Media. The executive producer is Paxton Calariso. Our associate producer is Blythe Ty. Theme music was composed by Vyacheslav Starostin. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to this show in your podcast app. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a review. Even better, tell your friends. To join the discussion, look for us on social media. Check out the show notes for all the links. Thanks for listening.